Okay, y'all, so let's talk about Final Destination Bloodlines and its connection to the rest of the franchise, because we just learned something pretty interesting and I feel really crazy for what I said in my previous video, so let's get on with it. But let's talk about Final Destination Bloodlines and does it even connect to the rest of the franchise? Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. On our road to 50,000 subscribers, we are 10,000 away from that, so let's get to it. But let's talk about if Final Destination Bloodlines is at all connected to the rest of the franchise. Short answer, no, and we'll get to it right now, but we'll also talk about what exactly were all those newspaper clippings, because that's what I thought, right? That's what I thought. So with Final Destination Bloodlines, I initially talked about in the ending explained that I myself thought that everything was connected. We saw sort of callbacks to the other Final Destination movies, from the airplane to the log truck and all of that. According to Adam Stein and Zach Lipovsky, who sat down with Collider to talk with Perry Nemiroff, they chatted about the newspaper clippings, and they pretty much said, you know what? We all initially thought we wanted to connect the movies, but we didn't. So this is what they said. So we spent a long time on that wall. If anyone wants to freeze frame, there's a lot of detail in there as to what went down. But I think there is a bit of confusion about the origin of Bloodlines and how that relates to the rest of the franchise. One of the things we all debated early on was, obviously, when you have something that starts so early, you're like, oh, this could be the origin of all the other movies. We debated that for a second, but then realized none of those other characters' parents died, so it can't be. Pretty much what they're saying here is that, yeah, we did think about doing that where everything was going to be connected like I thought and I had said in my ending explained. Sorry about that. Because this incident in Bloodlines happened in 1968, so I just assumed, you know what, that would make sense that everything would be connected, like everything in Final Destination 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would go back to this event that happened in 1968. But it turns out that, like they said, it just wouldn't have made sense because then all of their parents would still be alive. So why would they be next, right? Because as we learn, there is a whole thing there that we have to have the parents go out first and then the kids will go out first. But in the Final Destination movies, the kids were going to die, but the parents were still going to be there. So it just didn't make sense in the grand scheme of things to have it that way. It would just all be just weird. But they did say that all of the Easter eggs on the newspaper clippings were interesting there as well. They go on to say one small fun detail though that there is that when we decided that a lot of people died later on, they had to die in similar ways that they died at the Skyview. So there's a lot of newspaper articles that homage how they died in the Skyview, how they were later killed in either the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. They're all kind of related to rollerblading accidents in the 90s and all kinds of specific things like that. So one of the more specific ones for Penny Kid, which I will tell you that was one of the biggest pops I heard in the theater all year with Penny Kid. They said, for example, the Penny Kid who gets crushed by a piano, if you find his newspaper obituary, it says pickpocket killed by piano moving truck. The woman who got lit on fire is like socialite dies in house fire. And also with Iris, of course, who was trying to keep everybody safe in her family, died in a similar way that she was going to die in the premonition. Iris is sort of similar. In the premonition, she dies kind of skewer through the neck of this piece of rubble, but then the weatherbane skewers her through the neck in kind of the exact same spot. So Death's coming to get its collection exactly the way it wanted. And I know what we were thinking right now, but according to the directors, they said that the book was more where she was also seeing other people that had premonitions and that sort of had the same fate. So that's why she had the airplane. That's why she had the truck with the log and all of that. She was just looking at other examples. These weren't necessarily like things she was like sort of tracking down to see how they died and all of that, because they were part of the Skyview like line of sorts. She was just looking at other people. So Final Destination could very well go somewhere else, right, and have a whole other set of premonitions. And I always thought, are they boxing themselves in by saying, okay, these were the last deaths that were ever going to happen and then no more? But Bloodworp knew about these premonitions and everything because he had been a part of them before. It doesn't necessarily mean he is in the same line with other characters in the franchise like Kimberly and all of that. It's just saying that he already knew what this meant because he is a part of his own lineage. So Final Destination indeed can go on for a bit longer. So I think that that's one of the things that I got so confused about, and that's why I wanted to make the video talking about this when I saw and came across this article that said that the director said that this isn't really all meant to be a big connection from the first, second, third, fourth, fifth movie. That Bloodlines is pretty much its own line of death right there, and it's more serving as a conclusion to that, and also to give a send-off to Bloodworp, who was there during the Skyview incident, and just showcase that this is the rules of it all, and this is how it goes if you try to cheat death. So I could kind of see it in a way that maybe in the future films, in the past films, when some of the characters that did survive ended up surviving, then they would eventually be tracked down in their lineage. So I don't know. That's pretty much what we got there. So yes, indeed, Bloodlines is its own thing. It is not connected to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, besides them being in the same universe and like Iris knowing about those incidents as well. That's pretty much as far as that goes. But the people at the Skyview aren't connected to anybody else in the other films, which I thought was the thing there. So that's cleared up now. We know that for sure. So now the big question is, where does Final Destination go from here? Well, I think that they could possibly pick it up from Bloodlines if they want to. We could see other incidents, maybe in the 70s, 80s, and 90s that happened that were connected to the Skyview. But I think the best way to do it now would probably be to go maybe in a different direction, a other group of people that get in this sort of premonition thing, and then we see them try to escape death. But my question is, would you want to see that as well? Like, are we open to having a Final Destination movie every couple of years again and just seeing how it unfolds, even though we know it's just going to be like death hunting people down? I mean, we have slashers all the time and people would seem to enjoy these, and I'm telling you, if they can keep it light, they can keep it engaging, I think we could go on for a bit. But yeah, I just want to make this video to talk about that Final Destination Bloodlines is indeed not connected to anything else in the Final Destination franchise. It's its own contained thing, but it takes place in the same universe with all the other movies, so they are aware of all of these other premonitions that happened and all of these people that met gruesome demises. So that's me clearing up anything I said in the ending explain, because I initially thought that before hearing this explanation, because I just saw the book and I saw all of that, but you know, it just makes sense now the more I think about it. The way that it would have been connected is if those people didn't have their parents, and that's why they were next to die, because it was following the line. Death is following the line. But let me know your thoughts and opinions, and if you're excited for a new Final Destination movie if they were to make one, or do you think that this was a good conclusive end to the franchise and we're good, we can move on and try to see where we go forward with like the horror genre? Or do you need another Final Destination movie? Comment it down below. But as always, that's going to do it for me. Just want to make this quick update video. I'll see all of you next time. Hit that subscribe and hit that notification bell on the road to 50,000 subscribers. Check out our ending explains though. We still talked about the ending and all of that and had a good time talking theories. So go over there if you want to check that out. Check out our review. Check out our review for Bring Her Back if you are excited for a new horror movie this month. That is the horror movie of the year in my opinion, and I cannot wait for more people to watch it to talk more spoilers, but stay tuned for that. But as always, I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.